Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience episode number 513. Thank you for joining us for Black Entrepreneur Experience. This is where we shine the light on the most successful Black entrepreneurs in the world. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards, and today I am so deeply honored to have Mondo Davison, aka the Black Tech Guy, based in Minnesota. He launched January 26 an app called My Bar Jar that allows users to go online to pay for a drink at a friend's celebration. Wow, that's pretty clever. Mondo, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm absolutely perfect. Thanks for joining us on Black Entrepreneur Experience. You know, I've given our audience a very brief snippet of your bio. Why don't you fill in the gap and tell our audience more about you and your company?
Yeah, I definitely say that I've built my brand here locally as a Black tech guy. Here in St. Paul, Minneapolis, there's not a ton of minorities in tech, so I was able to carve my lane to essentially be that guy when I walked into those spaces. And for me, I just do my best to stumble on these ideas that are solving some type of problem, and I just love to find solutions to these problems. Other than that, I am super passionate about inspiring the next generation of young Black boys to go into tech. That is essentially my why. That's what drives me every day to keep pushing. And throughout this next 50 years, hopefully I can do that.
So how did you yourself venture into technology? Was it natural? Is that something you went to school for? Did you have mentors? Tell us, how did you venture down the road of technology?
Yeah, for sure. I'll give you a little backstory for some context. Growing up, I was the kid in the family that was super into sports. Like basketball was my life. I went to school and I got good grades, but for me, it was like, hey, I'm going to play in the NBA. I'm going to play in the NBA. That was my story. And I was grateful to have a family that pushed me to whatever dreams I wanted to achieve. And I was grateful to have people around me that supported me in that respect. But what ended up happening which was super frustrating for me, was every adult that I would essentially come up to as a young person, they would ask me something like, hey, what do you aspire to be? Or, what do you want to be when you grow up? And when I would say, hey, I want to play in the NBA, a lot of the times, all I heard was, well, what's your plan B? And I was never a disrespectful young man, and I would always have some blanket answer ready for that. But it used to be very frustrating because in my mind, I used to think, well, if I were to tell you I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher, you wouldn't ask me what my plan B is because it would fit into your mind of what I can become. So fast forward, 25 years old, I did not make it to the league. And I actually became an educator. I was an educator for 7.5 years. And around the same time that I became an educator, I just stumbled into tech. I watched the right thing on TV that I was like, wow, that's a great industry. I'm going to figure out a way to impact that industry. But along the same lines, I was thinking, well, how can I be different as an educator and not talk to these young Black boys that look like me? And when they tell me they want to play in the NFL or when they tell me they want to play in the NBA, what can I do to not say, well, what's your plan B? So for me, it was building the brand of the Black tech guy to essentially create a more compelling plan A. So that's what drives me every day, to see if I can do something so amazing in technology that young Black boys say, you know what, I don't want to play for the team. I want to own the team. And to do that, I'm going to, build this great startup and exit so I can go buy the Minnesota Timberwolves or whatever the team is.
So how would you define success for you, Mondo?
That's a good question. So for me, I have this 50-year plan. And when I really talk about aspiring young Black boys, the first part of that plan is exiting a startup at a certain amount. And today, that amount is $326 million. And the reason why it's 326 is because that's $1 million more than the single biggest NBA, NFL, or Major League Baseball contract, which then puts me in a position to be able to go talk to any young person and say, hey, here's an opportunity in tech. And when they say, you know what, that's cool, but I want to be like LeBron, or I want to be like Steph Curry, or I want to be like X, I can say, hey, guess what? I out-earned them And the opportunity for you to out earn them is from now when you're 15 all the way to you're 85, instead of just having that, short time span of, let's say, 21 to 31 to do those things you want to do as a professional athlete. So for me, my short term, I guess, minimum level that I have to reach is to exit a startup at 326 mil.
So then, in reference to what you do in your business, what is a daily or a weekly habit that you do consistently that has given you the greatest success?
Yeah, I think my daily habit is definitely just focusing on my strengths. So I'm of the mindset that figure out what your strength is, right? I actually call it a cheat code. I say figure out your cheat code. And when you figure out your cheat code, you do whatever you can do to maximize your reach with that cheat code. And for me, I used to say that my cheat code is finding a solution to any problem through tech if there is one. But I actually lifted up that hood and I found a common denominator. And I think my cheat code is actually being empathetic. I have a gift of being empathetic to other people's perspectives. And in that, I'm able to craft products or solutions through tech that can serve all these different demographics because I ask the right questions and I can put myself in their shoes. So I'm able to build a product that they would actually want to use. So when you talk about daily routines, it would definitely be doing whatever I can to maximize that cheat code.
So are you operating your business full time?
Oh, absolutely. See, my last day of working a full-time job was May of 2016. So, we're nearing a year here. I mean, the past year has been very interesting, a lot of ups and downs. I still haven't mastered what a daily routine looks like. It still keeps changing, but it's fun. I wouldn't be doing it any other way.
So tell us about your exit strategy. When you put that strategy together, was it nerve-wracking in terms of, did it just happen? Or were you nervous about it? Were you very comfortable? Did you set some things in place to get you to that place to exit? And then tell us where you exit from. You mentioned education, but I don't want to assume that that was your exit strategy.
And are we talking about exiting from full-time employment?
Absolutely. Into your full-time business. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was, as an educator, I felt like I was in the trenches every day at that micro level, doing my best to influence young Black boys. I would wake up and say, hey, I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. I'm adding value in a way that I know how. And eventually I hit this wall that essentially said, Mondo, you are not impacting to the level that you could be impacting. And the only way that you can go to that next level is if you focus on your strengths full time and step outside of this 9-to-5 job that you have. So for me, it was really just a feeling that I had that I can't continue to go to work and do what I'm doing right now because I'm not living up to my fullest potential. And, really was let me just set aside enough dollars to get me 6 months and I'll figure out the rest after that. So there wasn't a long strategy that I put together. It was just, hey, once you quit your job, you just have to win. And you just have no excuse but to win. And if you quit your job right now and you don't win, then what do you have to do? You have to go back to work. And that wasn't an option. So for me, it was just win. I have no other explanation except for just win.
So did you develop the app after leaving the teaching or before?
That was actually before. So what we were able to do is we built a web-based product, tested the market for 9 months from January 16 to about mid-August, maybe September of 16. And we were able to get a lot of feedback. So in the tech space, it's get MVP out, a minimum viable product out as fast as you can. It doesn't have to have all the bells and whistles. It just has to work enough that you can get customer feedback. So that's what we did. We got our product out there. It wasn't super pretty, but we were able to get people to use it and talk to our customers so we can design the perfect app, I guess. And I don't want to say perfect as if it's not going to get better, but an app that essentially we were able to vet out all of our assumptions. So what we did was after we tested for those 9 months, we shut down that platform and then we started building out the app. And our goal is actually to relaunch our app here in Q2 of 17. So hopefully you'll see it in the App Store here in a month or so.
So tell us about the app. Give us more information about what it does and what was the feedback and what did you learn from that?
Yeah, so essentially our goal was to build a registry for bars. So I think about people that get married, right? When you get married, you register at Target and Amazon and Bed Bath & Beyond and all these places. So now I was like, that's super cool, but there are also other celebrations that people celebrate. I'm thinking birthdays, bachelorette parties. My train of thought was, people don't gift random stuff, but people do gift drinks. Like myself, if I go to the bar, it's a high probability that I'm gonna run into some stranger at the bar and I'm gonna think he or she is cool and I'm gonna buy them a drink. That's just what we do. We gift drinks. So in my mind, it was, can we create a registry for bars? So Miss Richards, you have a birthday coming up in a month. You can register at the breweries and the lounges that you're going to go celebrate at. People click that link, buy you drinks at that bar that you're going to go to. So when you walk in, your tab's already paid for. So that's essentially the premise. Now we just have to execute on our strategy.
So Mondo, tell us, what is one valuable lesson you wish you knew before starting your business?
I would say fail forward and fail fast. I actually started this journey in January 7th, 2010. Was when I decided to step into tech. And my first startup, I worked on it for 2 years and I strategized for a super long time. And I wrote the most extensive business plan and did a whole bunch of stuff in-house, but I didn't go to market and I didn't test and get feedback as fast as I could. So for me, my biggest mistake early on was just not knowing how to launch a tech startup, because a lot of the strategies when launching a tech startup is counterintuitive to any other traditional business. So for me and the network that I had around me, I had mentors that had built traditional businesses, traditional storefronts, and the way that they executed on those storefront businesses does not align with the best practices of how to launch a startup.
Now, are you mentoring other African-American businesses that are interested? Are you passing this information on? Or do you feel that because you mentioned that you are doing a new launch for your app, that you are engrossed in that and so not really having the time to do the mentoring?
Oh, no. I think there's always time for mentoring. Rather it's, hey, if you want to be mentored and you got to link up with me at 5 a.m. or 12 midnight, there's always an opportunity for that. I think us as entrepreneurs that are successful or on our journey to success, we have to make time for, the next generation or the next wave of people, because I would not be where I am today if I didn't have the mentorship, if I didn't have the people that I can call at 3 a.m. and say, hey, man, is this right or is this wrong? So I do my best, my absolute best to make sure that I am available. That doesn't mean that I'm available right now or the next day all the time. It might be 3 weeks out, but for sure, I'll make time to meet with whoever is looking for some insight.
So, Mondo, talk about the top 2 influencers in your life and what lessons did they teach you?
I mean, for sure, my biggest influencer is my father. And I don't think there is a number 2. My dad is 1, 2, 3, 5, and 10. And really, it was just him encouraging me to dream big. I could give you a quick example. So I had failed. So from 2010 to mid 2015, I had launched 2 different startups throughout that time, and I failed miserably on both of them. And, I went to my dad for advice, and I said, Dad, I have access to about 10 grand. Do I take this 10 grand and finish my final semester of college? Because I never did. I ended up dropping out of college my senior semester. Or do I use this capital to go start another business? And without batting an eye, he said, you got to go start another business, because going to college is not going to put you in position to reach the big dreams that you have. So for me, it was absolutely my dad just always encouraging me to think big and go bold.
Oh, I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing that story, Mondo, because we just hear in our community, and I think a lot of it is the media is constantly putting us down as a race, and they always try to spin us on we don't have good black men. So I love the fact that you honored and was saluting your dad and saying that he's influencer A to Z. And so thank you so much for sharing that story with us about your dad.
Absolutely.
So why don't you talk to a younger you? What advice would you give to a younger Mondo?
I would push a younger me to take more risks in college. So for me, when I was in college, I was not yet of the mindset of, hey, I want to start a business. But the ecosystem and the resources and the freedom that people have in college is unlike any other time in your life, in my opinion. So you just think about the networks I could have built with other students or professors or educators in that space or local businesses, or just being able to network with people that probably have traveled to that school but were from all over the world, and really building those relationships and building a business and building a network to essentially be able to lean on for the rest of my life. That was one thing I did not do. And now when I think back to essentially the ecosystem at Florida A&M, HBCU, where everybody was grinding super hard to like reach their goal and to add value to their brother or sister next to them, I didn't do a good job at nurturing those relationships. I was more, focused on getting my good grades, but outside of that, I kind of just kept moving, kept it pushing, and didn't build like long lasting relationships. So talking to a younger me, I would say build those relationships in college and be risky and start a business, because you're going to have people around you. You're going to have a dense audience, likely those people on campus, and you're going to be able to test a lot of stuff. And you're also going to be able to have those roommates that are willing to take those risks with you.
And I agree with you, Mondo, 1,000,000%. And when I got my first degree, and I've gotten multiple degrees, but it's not about me, but I want to talk about a point that you have brought up. I started my first degree at the age of 16 and finished at 20, and college was a total blur to me. And what I did is I tried to, as I aged, I tried to reinvent or recapture that. And I think we as African Americans, we do not really understand the value of networking and how powerful that is. So to this day, although I did not go to a historically black college, but individuals that I know that have gone to historically black colleges, they just talk about exactly what you said, the network, and about them surrounding you and wanting to see you succeed. So I say, whether you're out there listening and you are at a traditional college that's not historically black college, or it's the mainstream college, you have to take advantage of those networks. And so I have pictures of my professors and things that I did back in the day, but I cannot tell you not one name of any professors. And I know I was extremely young to be on a campus at that age. And I don't really have very close friends that, even though I was in a sorority, I don't have very close friends from college. And I think that that is where you really build your network. And I agree with you. And that was one of the things that I was able to transfer and translate to my son, who had an amazing college experience, and he's in relationship and has built some very valuable and powerful relationships from college. So I agree with you. That was some wonderful advice, talking to a younger self. If you are listening to this podcast and you are in college right now, and maybe you have just become separated yourself, it is the best experience you can have. Now, not everyone is meant to go to college, but I agree, if you have that opportunity, it is a time in your life that it's just the best time. So that was really some good advice. So thanks for that.
If you don't mind, I want to add one thing to that.
Oh, no, absolutely.
So one thing that I really encourage about networking, I mean, you hear the old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. But I think it even goes a step further. It's not what you know, it's who you know, and it's who knows you. And you have to make sure that you leave a lasting impact on other people. So for me, it took a while for me to learn this, that I used to go out and network and I used to meet people. And the first thing in my mind I used to think is, what can I get from this person? Like, how many conversations do I have till I can get X? And it wasn't until I completely shifted that mindset and I go into conversations and I say, what can I offer this person? Like, how can I be of service to them? How can I add value to them without even thinking about what I'm going to get back in return? But when that happened, things started happening for me. And I think it's just a mindset that, like, I'm going to go out here and work hard. I'm going to do my best to add value to other people, and it's going to come back. It just happens. Like, the universe is just going to put you in places that you would not have been in if you didn't add value to these other people. So.
Right. And that's why I said, I was saying, and I agree with you, is that it is about giving. Really, you cannot outgive. If you are a giver, whether it's in your time, now you can't let people abuse it or whatever, but if you do have the attitude of gratitude, the attitude of giving, and it's not about always receiving, and I think that you're right. And I had to learn it too over the years, going to the networking events, and you're hearing how many people can you give your card to. It's not about that. It's really about building those relationships, making those connections, and seeing what you have in common and how you can be a value add to that person, and how that person can be a value add to you. And so it will always be a win-win, and you won't go wrong with establishing those relationships.
I agree 100%.
So you're known as the Black Tech Guy. So tell us, what is the technology tool or the technology platform that is a must-have for you in managing your business day-to-day, Mondo?
Oh, I don't have this crazy tech tool that's like new and nobody knows of. I'm just heavy on Google Docs, Google's whole suite. I live in Google Docs, and just to be able to, share documents with people on my team, we're all on the same page. There's no fracture in what people know because we're all sharing the same information. It's all about Google Docs for me.
And we had mentioned that you're in Minnesota. Was that the best city for you to launch your business?
Great question. Yes and no. No, because Minnesota, unfortunately, we have great entrepreneurs here. We have brilliant people here. We have a ton of talent because we have such a dense population of Fortune 500s here in the Twin Cities. I mean, it's prime time for the Twin Cities to just blow and be like a great place. But the thing that we're missing is we are missing seed funding. We're missing that early capital. We're missing somebody to bet on young people. And even more so, we're absolutely missing people that are willing to bet on young Black people or young people of color. So I'd say no in the respect of the short term. Like, it's harder to get that snowball rolling. But I do believe that once it does get rolling, it's going to be unstoppable. So I position myself to stay here and not move to like the Chicagos or not move to the Atlantas where the minority ecosystem was a lot more dense. I essentially placed myself here so I, along with some other entrepreneurs that I rock with very heavy, can be the trailblazers in our ecosystem. So it's going to take a little bit longer to get there, but I think we're definitely going to be a hub for minorities, people of color to come to Minnesota and thrive.
So let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about risk or failures. What is the worst moment in business, and what was the lesson? What was the takeaway?
I'm a huge risk taker, just in general. I am a bet big type of guy. Like, even if it's not business, if I go to the casino with $100, I'm either leaving with a big pot of money or I'm leaving with zero. Like, that's just the mindset that I have. So for me, I can't say that there is a poignant moment in business that I just like really failed. I think it was a culmination of a lot of mistakes that kind of built up and helped me shape my best practices. But for me, it's big risk equals big reward or big failure. And I just think over time, if I continue to bet big on myself, I'm eventually going to win.
So, what is the biggest achievement so far for your business?
Yeah, I say here locally, and it's something that I am proud of and I'm working to change a little bit. I think so far my brand is more successful than my business. And I say that because, in the Twin Cities, if you're in the tech space, you know the Black tech guy. Like I am everywhere all the time. Like I am always present. And I've built a lot of relationships. And I definitely believe that when people talk about the minority ecosystem in tech, I'm one of the top names that people talk about. But one of my shortcomings is I still haven't executed a business as successful as I know I need to for longevity. So for sure right now it's building that brand and being recognized and using that platform to influence young people. I am super proud of that, but I need to make sure that I actually run a successful business in a way that I know I can.
And so, tell our audience, Mondo, what book would you recommend and why?
Oh yeah. So the book that essentially changed my life is The Four Agreements. The Four Agreements has nothing to do with business or entrepreneurship. It's all about, being a better you, creating a self. And the Four Agreements are essentially be impeccable with your words, don't make assumptions, don't take things personally, and do your best. And I am not like super spiritual or religious and like in a way that like I read the Bible or anything like that, but I do believe that I live by this book, and I think it puts me in a position to be a good person. It's definitely the Four Agreements. It's something that has circled my household, meaning my brothers, my dad, my best friends, like everybody has read this book just because it really just helps your inner peace and you're just not worried about all the noise outside of you.
And so, what milestone do you want to accomplish for your business over the next couple of years?
So I don't think I have like a 2-year milestone that is essential. When I turn 39, my daughter will be 18, which means she'll be graduating from high school. She'll be ready to, go off to college or whatever her next phase of her life is. And I always said that when she turns 18, meaning when I'm 39, I want the option to just chill and retire for a little bit if I wanted to. And that just puts me in a position to be able to travel the world or travel the world with my daughter or just have the freedom to do things that most people want to do, which is like just living life. And I made a conscious decision that I was going to grind for 10 years. I don't travel for pleasure. I don't spend money for pleasure. I don't do anything for pleasure. I just work a lot. But that's because I believe that if I do that for 10 years, it will set me up to live the rest of my life however I want. So in short, 39, have the ability to retire if needed.
So you talked about your daughter. So how do you blend or balance your personal life, family life with your business?
So, there's this thing that people talk about, this work-life balance. And I'm definitely not the person to ask how to do that. And the reason is because I have a perspective that I think is abnormal. So my daughter is everything in my life. So she comes first 100% of the time. So when it's dad-daughter time, it's dad-daughter time. But aside from that, I think about, if I'm 80, 90 years old and, somebody comes to me and says, hey, Mondo, like we want to write a book about you. And I think that if my book says, you know what, Mondo has a strong family, he's married, he just has this loving family, but he didn't influence a generation of Black boys to go into tech. If that is my story, then I'm going to feel like I failed. And I'm not going to be happy the day I die if that is my story. But on the flip side, if my story says, you know what, if it wasn't for Mondo, we would not have 1 million Black boys that went into tech in the past 10 years or whatever that is. If it says that, but then it also says like, man, he's a single guy. He doesn't, have that loving wife or that white picket fence, and I die the next day, I'm happy with that. So for me, when you think about that work-life balance, my only responsibility outside of my business is my daughter. And then if I'm not trying to be a good dad, I'm trying to run a good business. And that's just a personal thing. Like, I don't think everybody should go down that road because I think that road is actually quite lonely. But I made a decision in my life that is what I deem successful. And I'm not going to put myself in a position to not be successful because I have other responsibilities.
So if you had to do it all over again, would you stick to the same industry, technology, or would you change?
I definitely stick to tech. I think tech is the greatest disruptor. One, the barrier to entry to technology is low in comparison to traditional businesses. I mean, you think about the amount of money or resources or finance you need to open a storefront and get commercial property and, get just all the stuff you need to do traditional businesses. Essentially, the bar is pretty high. In tech, like if you know how to actually program, the bar is not that high. It's essentially, I have a good idea. Let me build it. Let me go test it. And if I get enough traction, I can probably go raise some money in 6 months and not have all the rigmarole of starting a traditional business that most people have to go through. So for me, tech, absolutely, because it's scalable and just has a potential to impact so much. I call it the great equalizer because the way tech works now, it is contagious. And you put out a good product, you can have, 100 people using it one day and 100 million people using it 3 years later. And I don't think there's any other industry you can do that.
And I agree with you. And I am so glad to hear that you're making an impact on Black boys to get more into tech. I have interviewed several entrepreneurs on the show, and they are females, and they started out in engineering and they ventured into, like, one is like an engineer chef. She's taken her engineering into baking. And what's so interesting is when I started in college, I started in electrical engineering. I had started in actually computers. And so I ended up, again, not having the mentors or not having the support. And I always think about this and I say, what would my life be like if I would have stayed in technology as a career? I know it would have been totally different in terms of the financial money that I could have made and the advancements that I could have done in my career. And I have been in technology. I actually have worked for a couple of startups, tech startups. So I did end up going down that road, even though I had ventured down some other roads. And so I want to encourage anyone listening to the podcast, mothers, aunts, grandmothers, entrepreneurs, you are so right. I want to encourage our children to go into engineering, go into STEM, because you could pretty much write your own ticket in whatever area, whether it's the federal government, starting your own business, going into baking, whatever it is. That engineering opens up your creativity, your mind. And I agree, we should, as African Americans, have more businesses online because I call the internet the great equalizer. When we talk about when you are in these jobs, you cannot get the same wages, but you can teach yourself in the tech world and you don't even need to go to school for it. You know what I'm saying? It's so many different programs out there that will teach you about technology. So I agree with you 100%.
I think we are, as a people, meaning Black people, we are so prime for this industry. For me, I think about just historically, whatever we decide to get into, we disrupt. Like dance was a certain way, we get into it and we disrupt dance. Sports is a certain way, we get into it, we disrupt sports. It doesn't matter what it is. We've been put in positions in our lifetime, all of us, to be creative because of the barriers that we face. So we essentially practice creativity every single day. And I feel like that's why we're so good at it, because without it, it would be hard for us to thrive and survive. But then that means that if we go into technology as a group, as like a mission, like we're going to go disrupt this space, it's going to be so amazing because it's going to happen. And we are going to disrupt that entire industry because we have this creative genius that is unmatched by any other people on this planet, in my opinion.
And I agree with you 100%. If you study history, and that's another thing that I want it's a proverb, if you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you're going, and you have a tendency of repeating yourself. And that's one of the reasons the Jewish culture, they make every one of their kids learn about the Holocaust, because they're like, we will never repeat this. No one will ever do this to us again. And we have a tendency of believing what others tell us about not wanting to understand about slavery. And so if you study the history, we as African Americans, our bodies, our minds are programmed for science and math and numbers.
Absolutely.
And what has happened is in the academic system, for whatever reason, I just want to say the system in itself has constantly tell us that things are hard and we can't do this and we can't, and we buy that information, we sell it to our children, and so we always try to give them the easy way out. But we are brilliant as a race, and I agree with you, we are disruptors, and we ought to disrupt the technology industry, and we can do it. And I like that analogy that you said. That was very profound. Mondo, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question that you wish I would have asked? And I want you to ask the question and answer it.
I mean, the one thing I would say is, if you ask me, is there anything, like, what would make you stop? And I would say that my answer is nothing would make me stop. And I would give that answer because I think successful people that go on this entrepreneurial journey have to be convinced that they are solving a real world problem that is worth solving. And then they have to be convinced that they are the person to do it. And without you solving that problem, it won't be solved. So if you feel that way, then you're going to think like, I can't stop because this is so dear to my heart and I need it to be solved, that there is no way, no matter what the barrier is, that is going to force you to stop. So for me, I feel like, there's not a person on this planet that can inspire and influence more young Black people to go into tech than me. And, I'm just saying that because that's what I believe. So I'm going to keep going every single day until I reach that goal. And there's just no way, there's no rhyme or reason why I would stop doing that.
So share with our audience a parting piece of advice you want to offer.
Yeah, so one of the things I've been really recycling lately and saying a lot is the three things that drive me, I guess. And one is what's your why, two is your cheat code, and three, your big, bold ambition. I talked about my why, and my why is, inspiring a generation of young Black boys to go into tech. And nothing is going to stop me from doing that. So I'm going to run into so many barriers and so many things that I have to hurdle over, but my why is going to keep driving me. Then two, I noted before, is that cheat code. What is the one thing that you do better than everybody else around you? What is that thing that no matter what person throws a fastball at you, you can solve it with that cheat code that you have? Then you just have to find the right vehicle to maximize that cheat code. And number three is like, what's your big, bold ambition? And for me, big, bold ambition is dreaming so big that if you fall short of that bold ambition and you don't reach the stars, at least you land in the clouds. So an example for me, like at the end of the day, when I'm 80, I want to have Obama-like social capital. And I just feel like Obama might go down as the greatest human on the planet in history. And with that being said, I felt like he still has a lot of power to influence this world in a positive way. So my goal is to have that type of influence to see if I can impact this world just as positive.
Love that. Well, we've come to the place in our interview where it's called Fun Facts Lightning Round. And I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I want you to give us very quick answers. And if there's a question that you desire not to answer, feel free to just say pass. Are you ready?
Yep.
So the last movie you saw, Mondo?
Oh, man. I'm failing this. Let's just pass that because I know the name. I mean, I know what I'm seeing, but I can't think of the name.
You relax doing what?
Listening to podcasts.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Jay-Z.
Your favorite dance song?
I don't dance.
And what food you eat every week, no matter what?
Tacos.
And your favorite month?
May, my birthday month. My birthday was just May 8th.
Well, happy belated birthday.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on the lightning round. So, in conclusion, what is the best way for our audience to connect with you?
Yeah, for me, it is at the Black Tech Guy anything. At the Black Tech Guy on Twitter, the Black Tech Guy on Facebook, the Black Tech Guy on Instagram, and Mondo at the Black Tech Guy if you want to shoot me an email. And I love to connect with anybody.
Thank you, Mondo. We appreciate you spending time with us at Black Entrepreneur Experience. If there is anything that we can do to support and elevate your business, don't hesitate to reach out.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks. That's a wrap.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.